Alrighty folks, back by popular demand, we are out here once again to smoke a cigar, and then I'm just going to catch up to speed on life to date very quickly while we have good weather in the UK. And if you're wondering, Mel, why does the background look like a prison yard? Well, that's because I'm in my garden, but of course you are here for one thing and one thing only, and that is for the cigars. And I have a very special pack of cigars that I want to show you. I bet you never even realised this particular country had the ability to produce cigars, and that is China. We have in this beautiful red tin a packet of Changcheng Xuejia, which is Great Wall cigars. We actually went, just because I need to catch you up, to China, to Nanning. We was just chatting about cigars with his cousins, and one of the other days that we met them, they decided to bring back some homegrown cigars. So in this tin, we have 5 cigars, these tiny Robustos here, very cute. And in case you're interested, they are produced in Sichuan, because China's having a bit of a moment now. I don't know if you guys are seeing on social media. While they're not known for their cigars, China's actually one of the world's largest tobacco producers, which makes sense because pretty much the whole country smokes. And actually just on the nose, it just smells quintessentially Chinese medicine, herbal. It's got that jujube date kind of aroma to it. And so I think this should be quite a light smoke. So let's go ahead and cut the cigar. I'll just do a cat eye actually, because I think we are going to be able to do that with this end. It's got little pigtails. Lovely. While we are lighting this cigar up and are about to enjoy it, I thought let's talk some factoids about the Great Wall cigar brand, because I'm sure it's new for a lot of you out there. So Great Wall Cigars is one of China's leading cigar brands. It's got a history of over 100 years actually. So they were established in 1918, and in true form, like the Cubans, the Chinese have been making cigars for their political leaders since the 1960s. They are also approved by, you guessed it, Chairman Mao. And in recent years, they've expanded their reach, of course, beyond the elite. And they do lots of collections that the masses can enjoy, namely, of course, during Chinese New Year. Now, these cigars actually feature a blend of tobacco. China does produce their own tobacco. I believe they are like Yunnan, Hebei, etc. But they are also featuring a blend of New World tobacco. So you got the Dominican Republic, Brazil, and Nicaragua. Their market reach at the moment isn't really that widespread. It's mostly contained nationally, but they are doing things at the moment to expand their reach globally. And they've actually now partnered with 2 companies, Altadis and Agio. That's going to help them reach the European market, also get better technology for producing quantities at a large scale. And they're also not just doing handmade, but they're doing machine-made cigars as well, just to expedite the process and also have variety. And apparently, to drum up even more exposure, they're planning to introduce a cigar cultural village, which should be a very immersive experience. You can apparently go into the tobacco fields or something like that just to see how it's grown. It's more just a way of exposing everybody to the cigar growing culture that is in China. As it actually pertains to this cigar, as expected, very light body. It's quite similar actually to a lot of the New Worlds that I have smoked. It's relatively similar to the Arturo Fuente that I've had recently, actually. Very light. It's actually also a very inexpensive smoke as well. I think for a box of these 5 cigars, they're probably like 20 British pounds. And actually, if you're just looking for a half an hour break, this is ideal. Good cherry on it. So I will definitely be picking up more when I go back to China eventually, because we do want to make more of an effort to go back, given the tides have turned as of late in the UK. This is a bit of a follow-on update to the copious videos that I've made, not just around the state of the nation here, even as it relates to me personally with the theft that happened. And you will have to excuse the fact that while I have a cigar, I am talking to you. We are looking, as I've mentioned in many videos, to make a move. Obviously, we'd love to say as soon as possible, and I've had lovely comments from a lot of you guys saying, you know, you can just get started with very little to nothing and you can build yourselves from there. But I'm somebody who's organised. I like to stay ahead of the game. I like to have plan B, C, D. We just want to make sure that when we make a move, it is fixed and relatively permanent for at least the next 5 to 10 years. Obviously, we have a little dog as well, and our careers, and we don't just want to have it be poorly planned and potentially have to move back or something like that. Namely, it's around safety, security, standard of living, cost of everything. It's really funny going back to China and telling them about how much we earn, or they think that we earn a hell of a lot. Salaries there are probably a third of what you can get in the UK for a white collar job. But truth be told, they have more buying power than we do. And what we realised when going back to Asia is actually how hospitality and customer service is actually king. You feel that as a customer, you're valued, whereas in comparison in the UK, I feel like a nobody. And look, I'm not saying people need to give me this princess treatment, but when you work hard, you want to be treated nicely in your personal life. And the fact that they have service, 13% or something in the UK, they don't really do anything to go the extra mile, and they still want a tip. In the UK, you definitely feel, or the West, you have this tall poppy syndrome that has really gotten to me as of late. It's almost like you're resented for being a high earner, for doing better than others. And I am not somebody that had a silver spoon in my mouth. I don't think I've talked about it because it's not really relevant, but I guess for this part of the conversation, it is to a degree, because I've never been to private school. I have never had any real wealth in my family. We were pretty poor, and I worked really hard all the way to the top of the career ladder. And actually everything that I have, much later in life, I bought and I've worked for myself. In the UK, I've noticed, given this widening wealth gap, the inflation, probably even to do with the weather, it's all very depressing, that people see any sign of success as an affront to the status quo. And when you're constantly around people like that, you start to become the sum total of your network. That's not to say that they aren't enjoying their lives. I'm very different, and that's okay. But if I'm very different, I don't think it's very conducive to me and who I am and my personality and my ambitions to stay in what I perceive to be a negative overall atmosphere, because any ideas that I have are instantly slammed down because you cannot be a tall poppy here. And I guess you're seeing that play out in terms of public policy as well. I'm not saying everything has to be a competition here, but I think there's nothing wrong with rising tide lifts all boats. When I tell people in the UK, my peers, even my colleagues, they're just happy with their mortgage, with their life as it is, the picket fence. They don't want to hear about the awards and accolades. And look, that is fine for some people, and that is enough. I'm a person who has a growth mindset, and I need to keep moving forward. And even when it came to the theft that happened relatively recently, so the TLDR is movers stole from my jewellery collection. Thankfully, it did to a degree get resolved with my insurers, so tip, make sure that you get good insurance for your home. But the police didn't do anything, which is a bit crazy given we pay so much tax. But when I told some of my friends, they obviously in the UK, they sympathise. In fact, some of them had similar instances, if not worse, like knife point level and tied up, crazy stuff. That is, traumatizing, and that took them years to get over. But they were always just, oh, well, that's just the way that it is. But it shouldn't be the way that it is. And I think that's so messed up. And of course, that's going to encourage the wrong types of people to come to a country like this, because there are no consequences. People would think in China, because it's communist, because it's a people's dictatorship, everything is so controlled, people are not free. But I've noticed, as somebody who has dual cultures, you do something like the theft that happened to me, we'll never see you again. In China, you know the deal that you're getting, and actually they are much more free than the label that's slapped on Western brands, because apparently in the UK now you can go to prison for pointing out issues with public policy, if you know what I mean. And that's in a democracy. Whereas in China, they're much more entrepreneurial, they're innovating. I mean, the fact that we've come home with 2 Huawei phones that have literally like retouching capability, photoshopping capability right in the camera. It's thin. I've got a flip phone now, high quality, faster, can do more, personalizable and cheaper. They're allowing the West to blab while they are cracking on and working hard. Most people there have 2 or 3 jobs as a standard. They never say no when there's money on the table, when there's an opportunity to better themselves. All of them are multilingual, trilingual, as a default. They work hard, but they play hard. Everything's open 24 hours. Everything is cheap. Whereas in the UK, things are closed at 4 or 5 p.m. The streets are dirty. Potholes cannot be fixed. Whereas in China, they're putting up bridges every 2 months, it seems. And that's, in a way, how I prefer to live. I prefer the rules to be very clear from the outset. I'm not somebody who's going to be making spicy content. I'm not going to move somewhere also. That's one of the rules, right? If you decide to break the rules there and you decide to live there, it's kind of your own fault. It's very much in the East, I'll just say in the East, get stuff done. Life needs to move on. We're going to make it frictionless for you. Whereas in the UK, it feels like they're just tightening the noose. It's literally everything we're doing is to make your life a little bit harder because we know you have a mortgage. We know you have kids. You are going to stay where you are. And I think with also the weather slapped on, everyone's depressed and everyone just wants you to stay the same. So that is not something that I need in my life right now after dealing with the theft and the fallout from it, because there was a lot of mental baggage of someone violating your home and how incompetent, frankly, the police are. I handed them, as some of you may have seen, eBay listings of the thieves trying to shift the item. I was basically doing the police's job for them. So if I am paying almost 40% tax to public services that do not run, why should I stay here? And in fact, you're seeing the mass exodus, aren't you, of high net worth individuals leaving the country. Some of our friends as well are also moving out in the next year, 2 years. It's very unfortunate because I have a lot of happy memories, as you do, to the UK. It's part of the reason I credit, my ability to think freely, critically, but things have moved on. You cannot have the same status quo and the same archaic British Empire thinking for the years to come. We are seeing the changing face of the West. We are seeing other countries that a lot of people are in denial about and there's anti-propaganda towards. They're developing at a rapid pace. We want to be jumping on that trend before it becomes a mainstream thing, especially given that we don't see a future of raising children in this country. It's a dangerous world out there. What I have, it feels like people are entitled to. And, we ultimately just want to be left alone. We want to just be left to work hard, contribute to the economy, pay our taxes. We want the streets to be clean. We want services to be available. We want food to be relatively cheap. We want just to live in a nice neighborhood with nice weather. And in the UK, they're trying to block out the sun, apparently. And I would also say, as it relates to this channel, China accounts for one of the biggest markets when it comes to consuming luxury. And actually what I found is those people are ambitious. They like the milestones that these items represent, the goalposts, and it's safe enough in China to wear your luxury goods. I was wearing my Rolex Lady Datejust out and about in China, and there was no issue. Wearing my luxury in the UK is almost like a death wish in itself. I don't wear it anymore in London, whereas in China you can be out and about in the hustling, bustling metropolis of the cities and nothing will happen to you. And I obviously am, by default, I'm just constantly closed in my body, just with my eyes darting around looking to see if someone's looking at my stuff. But truth is, the Chinese, they don't need my stuff, and frankly, it's not worth it. We were actually speaking to some of your relatives, weren't we, about phone thefts, because obviously we were telling them about how London is known for the moped crimes and phone thefts are like 50% up year on year. And, your relatives laughed because they were like, what would they do in China with your phone? Everything is on WeChat Pay or Alipay, and they would need all your passwords and everything. And actually a lot of thefts would be meaningless because a lot of the thieves have better phones. Because in China, they're actually very affluent. I mean, even noodle bars take cashless payments now. You'd seldom go into somewhere that didn't have all the fancy technology, and everything is interconnected. And yes, some people might find that to be annoying, but if you have the right cards and your phone number set up and everything and the app set up, it's actually really frictionless, and it's actually really nice to be able to go out without your wallet and have no risk of theft. And so there's nothing worth stealing for them because the punishment does not warrant what the payout would be. They also don't have an immigration problem, and everybody that does come into the country are producing and they're contributing. So it's definitely less of an issue when it comes to my luxury goods. I don't even think I would need to arm my house to the teeth because actually every house as a standard comes with security. They have buzzers, they have cameras everywhere. It's a shame because the UK has and always will be my first home. I have fond memories and friends, and I'm sure I will always have a base here. But I think it's time to move on and never say never. But I'm really looking forward to that next chapter in my life. But we are open to other places, so watch this space. And it's nice to be able to open and close with this Changcheng cigar. That's kind of all I wanted to speak about, really, especially also on the theft topic, because I know a lot of you guys have asked. So thank you so much for your concern, for checking in. Anyway, we are fighting the daylight, so we're going to finish the cigar off camera. But thank you as always for watching, and I'll catch you in the next one.